Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right, good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we've got a great show for you tonight. It's good to be back on air. Last week, of course, we had some lovely technical issues and had to cancel last minute, so I apologize for those of you that were tuning in, but we'll try to reschedule that last Thursday's guest and an upcoming episode, so we'll try to do that as quickly as we can, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in live tonight, and again, sorry for the inconvenience we've had this year. As I said, we got a great show, and got a great panel coming on tonight for Coach's Corner. I'll introduce the group here in just a moment. And a little bit later on, I'm going to be speaking with Bill Robertson, the President and Executive Director of the Golf Heritage Society. He's going to be coming on, and actually he was on scheduled rather earlier this year and had some technical issues, so he had to be rescheduled for tonight. So it hasn't been a good year for the technical side of things here, but nevertheless, glad everybody can join in, and I think it's going to be a good, interesting show tonight. So remember, we are live when we're here every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on the blogtalkradio.com network. And the best way to find us, of course, is go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, and that takes you to the main page. And all of the current shows will always be front and center, of course, on the nights that we're live through the 6 to 8 p.m. Central time slot. But for some reason, if you can't and you have to tune in later, you can just scroll down to the on-demand section and you can listen to all of the previously aired shows because they are all also auto-recorded. So you can just skip down, and any shows that you may have missed or that you want to hear again for one reason or another, you can catch them in the on-demand section. So always available there. And at the end of the show, of course, I list some other areas that you can listen to the podcast as well. So all over the internet, all over a variety of different platforms. So you can catch them whenever it's convenient for you. All right, let me introduce the Coach's Corner panel. Two of them have actually made it here. I've just sent a message to the third one. I'm going to introduce all three just in case, so I don't have to do it later. And if not, then the two that are here and myself will have to juggle some of the questions around a little bit and cover it. So first up, of course, is Clint Wright. He's a 30-plus year member of the PGA and one of the partners at TGM Golf. TGM Golf is a big proponent of the R3 approach. And I certainly consider him to be among one of the best, I think, covering the short game. That's always a favorite of his to really talk about here on the show. He really enjoys helping people get it up and down and get on the green and make those putts. So, and he's also been one of the favorites, one of the early ones, actually, on the Coach's Corner panel, one of the first ones to ever be here. So he's been on the bus for a long, long time. Also becoming a very fast favorite on the show as well is Jim Endicott, and Jim's been teaching this great game for over 38 years. He's a former Golf Digest School's general manager, a 7-time PGA Award winner, including the 2022 North Florida PGA Section Patriot Award and 2 North Florida PGA Youth Development Awards. Currently the Director of Instruction at the Royal St. Cloud Golf Links in St. Cloud, Florida, and he's also a Golf Tips Top 25 instructor and a contributor to the magazine as well. Also rounding out the panel is Sue Weger. She's a #1 best-selling international author, motivational speaker, and peak performance coach. And she's been an LPGA Class A golf professional for many, many years and is the owner of Weger Consulting. Her book, Golf the Last 6 Inches, Change Your Brain, is available at Amazon.com. So as I mentioned, Clint and Jim are obviously here, so welcome, guys. And I've just sent a message, as I said, to Sue, and we'll see if she's going to be able to make it tonight. If not, then we will pick up from there and just manage the fort ourselves. But so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold off from getting into actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out, and there's a reason why I'm doing this. I'm going to give you the questions for this particular section of it because it's going to take some thought on your parts. I don't like to get you in a situation, which I know it won't, but to sort of with a gotcha question or anything like that. So I'm going to kind of give you what the general question for each of you would be, and then we're sort of going to unpack it from there. So, Suze, basically what we're talking about is sort of transitioning a golfer from various stages throughout their experience. So Sue was going to actually start us off, and I may get you guys to sort of tackle this section together. But I'm going to give you hers, I'm going to give you yours, Clint, and yours, Jim, and you'll understand how the flow goes here in just a moment. So for Suze, really, this was an opportunity to work with a junior golfer. Some of the goals would include, obviously increased knowledge of the game, certainly to enhance their skill improvement and playing ability. And a long-term goal for this particular junior would be to make it to, let's say, a D1 college and become a member of the golf team. So that was sort of her approach to it, sort of get them early. Then, Clint, it was going to pivot to you. And the reason I'm telling you is, again, I want you to have some time to think about your particular approach to things so that you have a little bit of time to get your thoughts together. So yours, you're going to sort of pick up where she would leave off. And your player has obviously enjoyed a good junior career and now are interested in moving towards that D1 college golf and then on to turning a professional. And there's some specific things here that I want you to get into. And then, Jim, you're now going to be working with that touring professional. They've made it, obviously got their card, what have you. But this is their rookie year. So they've made it to the big leagues, but obviously still have a lot to learn. So what I'm going to do is I think we're going to unpack Suze here together and get it sort of started off. And I'm going to, just since, Clint, you're going to get into the other in a second. Jim, if you don't mind, I'm going to pass this initially off to you, Sue's question, because it looks like she may not be making it here, and I don't want to stall too long. So you've got a junior golfer, and you can pick whatever age. Maybe they're 10 to 13-year-old range, maybe a little bit younger, a little bit older, and they've got specific goals. They obviously want to understand the game. They want to, as time goes on, develop and improve their playing ability. And I've laid out what their sort of long-term goal is, and that is to get into a good college and become a member of that team. So talk about initially what would be the initial steps. And we're going to assume for all of these, by the way, that you've already done an assessment at each level. So you've already assessed where they're at, and now you're getting ready to sort of put together, the initial steps of how you want to get. So at this sort of beginning stage, if you will, they've had to, learning to play in junior golf tournaments and things like that, and they've got specific goals. What would be, Jim, if you were starting off here, what would be some of the steps that you would initially take to get them to the level that they're going to be ready for to carry their career a little bit further?
Well, thank you, Ted, and it's great to be on the show. So I'm make sure I understand. We have a player who I have assessed, I've already seen them some, and how am I going to get them through high school and prepared for college golf? So
that's exactly right.
Player, yep. Let's take this player at the age of, say, 10, 12 years old, something of that nature. We're still at a point in their learning time that we need to incorporate some different kinds of skills. We need to incorporate some fundamental movement skills, keep them engaged in other sports, and really get them well-rounded in their mobility, their physical abilities, and get them having fun and interested in overall activities. From there, as they continue to progress and they have the idea that they want to play at a high level, we're going to start to transition somewhere in the 12, 13, 14-year-old range into more golf skills in their dynamics And at this point, we're going to probably want to start to have them experiment with some competition, to get them out in one of the junior tours, get them on a tour that gives them the ability to have some successes. I'm not a fan of them throwing themselves right into something that is daunting and over their head in terms of skill set, but they can get out there, they can have some success, they can see themselves finishing top 10 in the event, that sort of thing. And from there, we would assess their game to help to determine what are we going to go back and work on in terms of skill set. And with that, we'll have a certain practice regimen to get them to spend a certain amount of time relative to, one, their interest and drive, two, their skill set and abilities, and their time. What do they have available based on other activities? And at this stage, we're still wanting them involved in more than one sport. The more that they play at this level in different activities, the more rounded their abilities, their coordination, and their flexibility. The more sports they're involved in at this point, the better off we are. I recently saw a video of Jack Nicklaus, and he played multiple sports until he was about a junior in high school. And he attributed his longevity in play to the fact that he was well-rounded in athletics at an early age, that it helped to build his body and his muscle groups and keep them from injury at a young age. So now we're in that 13, 14-year-old age range, and we're starting to refine a little bit a plan of how are we going to get ready for high school. And this is going to come with different activities for how do I lower my score. And I'm a big fan of young players playing at a distance whereby they can start to approach even par or even see an occasional under par. And what is that level? At 13 or 14, it might be that they're going to play their golf course 9 holes, par 4 every hole. And the length of the holes are going to be, let's say, at the first onset, 150 yards. And if they're able to score under par there, we move them back 25. Then we move them back another 25 until we get to the very forward tees and they're able to score under par. There is a direct correlation to two things in the evolution of a player. One, the more they see that they can score low, the more they will score low. Two, in competition, the more successes they have and the more winning opportunities they have, the better chance they have of winning. They get over that hump of the fear of, oh my goodness, I'm about to win. So now we're moving into that high school age, and now we're starting to compete at a higher level and more frequently. Prior to this, any competition, I would hold it to 1, maybe 2 competitions in a month. Now we're in a point where it's 2, maybe 3 in their high school season. It would be rather busy because they have a lot of matches. But I don't want those players competing more than 3 times in a month and no more than 2 weekends in a row. They need to have break away from it, clear their head, clear their mind, clear their focus, work on what maybe wasn't working in that particular event. The ideal situation would be that they play on 1 week, off the next, on 1 week, off the next, and even avoid the multiple weeks in a row. And now we're starting to see a scoring average, and we're starting to see, we got a chance. And at this point in high school, we're going to advise them to start putting together their resume of successes on the golf course, what their grade point average is, We're going to put together what their scoring average is, and we're going to create a video of them in hitting shots. The video will include shots from down the line, face on, with multiple clubs out on the golf course. That's about a 2-minute video. And as they get into, depending on where they want to go, Division I, we're going to have to start sending information very young in their career. If they're looking more at 2 or 3, then we're up in the junior year. Junior year is when it's critical because that's when they can actually start to talk to coaches. So we're getting them a resume of playing, successes of playing, a lower scoring average, and then when it's time to get ready to go to the recruiting process, they're going to send their resume and their video to their prospective coaches, and they're going to follow up. How are they going to determine what coaches? That comes with a number of things. 1, does the school have what they want to study? 2, and I like to have them look at the scoring average of their of the teams and find a place where their scoring average currently would be at about the number 3 player on the team that they want to go to. That's where they want to start their search, and they're going to start sending those resumes, and they're going to follow up every other week. And as they start getting interactions, they're going to follow up more frequently. The follow-up is critical, because some coaches will take information and they will hold responding to make sure that the player is serious. So we slowly progress them through the scoring. We slowly progress them through the tournament and competition, all the while working on their skill set.
Well said. Let me bring Sue. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you were able to make it, and glad we didn't have any technical issues tonight that I had to cancel you out. So I'm glad you were able to make it. Sue, let me just very quickly thank you, Jim, by the way, for doing that. So I wasn't quite sure whether you were going to be able to make it, so I actually had basically let me bring you up to speed here, and then I'm going to get you to follow up a little bit from what Jim was just talking about. So we're talking essentially about the same player here, but at different levels throughout their golfing journey. So what we were starting off with was sort of the junior golfer that's, been playing, wanting to play in a number of junior events, that sort of thing, with some of their goals to obviously increase the knowledge of the game, help their improvement, playability, that sort of thing. And ultimately a long-term goal initially of getting maybe into like a D1 college and become a member of the team. So Jim sort of laid out from the physical side, meaning what are the steps that need to go. What I'd like you to do on this particular one, and I'll get you to respond to some other stuff after, but is talk about how you get their mindsets correct. And we're talking about junior, and again, maybe you're going to be talking around the 10-year-old to 13 in that range initially. I mean, the real young juniors, that's a whole different story, but these are kids that have identified what they want. So he's walked us sort of through the steps that we want to go through with this particular golfer, and I'm sure they align with what you've done as well. But to pick up from where he sort of left off, what's the mental strategy that you're going to have with this junior golfer? They've identified they want to become a college player. They want to be part of a team. What happens beyond that, we're going to get into in a little bit. What's the discussions you're going to have? How are you going to guide them to get them to start building some mental muscle, if you will, in addition to just the physical stuff that they're doing? Because that's just as important, if not more important in some ways, of just being a good ball striker and learning to, put the shots together. Walk us through that a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, and then I'm going to go to Clint after you.
Yeah, I think that the biggest issue is trusting in yourself mentally, and I think that's the biggest issue for most junior golfers. A lot of junior golfers sometimes don't believe in themselves, mentally, and that's where they struggle. And I think that you just have to build their belief system within themselves first. and then once they believe in themselves, then the results starts to change a little bit, and that's one of the biggest issues is, it's all about a belief system on, who do you believe? Do you believe in yourself, or do you believe in others, or do you believe in, your teammates, that type of thing. So I think that's the biggest issue is, believe in yourself. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle at times with golf. And I think that's where, people have a tendency to, I won't say drop out, but a lot of times they do drop out of like competitions and stuff. And, I just think that's the biggest issue is like mentally you have to believe in yourself, and you keep moving forward, and you keep moving forward, and you keep moving forward. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. And let me just add to that, or get you to add to this as well. And we're going to get into some specifics a little bit later on, but what I wanted to ask you real quick, just to give you a little bit more time, is obviously even at particularly at this level, there's not quite a lot of confidence quite yet, and you're going to get them where sometimes, again, through no fault of their own, but, parents can be a little bit assertive with it, wanting to push them into a lot of tournaments at a very young age. They get burnout, they get confused, they get overwhelmed. And you start to see some signs where they're doubting, their abilities, or, seeing that their long-term goal maybe isn't coming to fruition as fast as they'd like. You're going to have to at some point have a little bit of as their coach, a little bit of a pep talk with that particular individual. So what's some of the conversation that you're going to help them to refocus and to get, a little more serious, say, hey, you've got an opportunity here, you've got some skill sets, but, you're falling up behind a little bit in certain things. What's that pep talk going to be like with that student, with that junior golfer?
I think that the first thing is the person themselves have to believe in themselves. And that's what you have to like really force, that, force that idea with them and understand that, hey, you know what, believe in yourself. Everything's going to be great. Trust yourself over a putt, trust yourself with your swing, trust yourself, with your score. That's one of the biggest issues is most people don't trust themselves. And that's what you have to teach players to do is to trust themselves over the ball, trust themselves over a driver, whatever it may be. And I think that's where most people struggle is they don't trust themselves.
Well, and I think you have to sort of block out, Cindy Miller, of course, LPA professional. You have to block out the committee of they. You get a lot of people, and it could be parents, and that want to interject their own thoughts. Sometimes it's well-intended, but it confuses. I mean, they're there to work with you and or whoever else, and they need to have some direction. And it's good to have positive reinforcement from the parents or from somebody else. But if the student or the junior golfer is getting too much feedback from too many sources, and now it's suddenly become confusing messages, then it sort of defeats the purpose that you're trying to get. So I just wanted to get you an extra minute or so. All right, Clint, we're gearing up for you now. So your task is. Sue has very eloquently and obviously Jim has sort of set the guidelines here of what's going to happen as junior golfers enjoyed a good career and they've gone into high school. Now they're getting ready, and Jim, as he mentioned, laid out what the steps are to sort of get recruited into that position. But at some point, they've now taken that step a little bit further, and they want to turn professional as well. So what is your strategy from a player standpoint to get them both into the college? I mean, they're going to apply, and obviously there's certain things that they have to do, but what are you going to do to get them really firmed up to be a good college player that they're, number one, going to get noticed, but then help them transition into the professional level? What are you going to do to help them increase their opportunities of winning that tour card?
And I'm sure Sue and Jim would agree with this, is a lot of this is personalities and individualism. how a person reacts. The one thing I would add to what both of them says, I think that if we can instill, in particular the college players, I coached for a number of years, so this is really an interesting question and how you manage things. But you have to let that player understand that it's okay to fail, as long as to give them a chance to succeed. You don't want to have that anxiety about failure, because you'll never take a chance if you do. And
right.
So you try to instill that into, particularly, let's take this high school kid. I always tried to evaluate the school they came from. What kind of atmosphere? Were they an individual that was really a good player on a mediocre team, or were they a team player with 5 good players? What was their team makeup? Because I dealt many a time bringing a kid that's 18 years old, it's the first time he's ever been away from home. Mom and dad can't, they're anxious about their child being away from home for the first time. And so
right.
that person that has been kind of the linchpin on a team, the emotional change that takes place there is for him to walk in and they be 5 or 6 or 7 players just as good as they are, is something they've never dealt with. So as a coach and a collegiate coach and a teacher, you have to have a conversation about that emotion, and once they realize that you're on a team now, you're not just an individual. There's people that are on this team just as good as you are. Some people fade with that. They can't manage not being the best player. That's part of their confidence level. They know they're the best player, so as long as they are, then they're going to step up and play very, very smoothly and easily. That belief system that we're talking about, they believe they're the best player here, so that's how they build their reputation and their confidence in being the best player there. Once that's taken away, then you have to be able to help that person break through that. Some people do, and some people never get beyond it. So what I always try to do with the kids to move them to the next level, if they want to try to play professionally at whatever level it is for them to begin to understand that they're now not, the best player. They have to work at it. This is not something you show up. It's college. You go to class. It's a job. You show up. You do things you're supposed to do. Treat it like a job. And if you're not willing to make that change, because in high school golf, that's, not quite that much pressure, And so, but in college golf and professionally, you show up to work every day. You accomplish what needs to be done for you to improve and to continue to move, as you said, move forward all the time. But in order to move forward, it's a lot like learning to ride a bicycle. You got to be willing to fall off to learn how to ride it. So you got to get in there. You got to try. You got to keep working forward. And many times you see these a college kid come in. They may not have been playing on the golf course level that the collegiates play on. It may not be quite as difficult, so they're out there. I like Jim's point about you got to be able to understand what 4 under really feels like. And some of these kids, may have played difficult golf courses, and now they don't know how to go low. And some played easy golf courses that they expect to go low, and they step up on a golf course to where their caliber of play is not going to give them those low scores. So they have to learn.
Right.
Sometimes even par is a really good score. But in their mind, they were always under par. So there's that adjustment. I think it's more emotionally. And I think that when you start dealing with a player of that level, they have a team now. I mean, in college golf, the portal system is outstanding because, you can move from one level to another now with no trouble. You got NLI money. I mean, so they have a team of people now. They got their parents, they got trainers, they got agents. I mean, it's crazy that so now you're having to deal with not just the player, but you're dealing with their group of advisors or coaches to help them move to that next level. It used to be they only saw that at the professional level. Now you see it at the college level. So as a golf instructor, you have to recognize that there's people that are more that they trust more than you. because they've been associated with them much longer. And one of the things from a coaching standpoint, I always ask, who's your instructor? I always wanted to talk to them. How am I going to manage this young fella or young lady? Because you've been dealing with them since they were 12 years old. You tell me how they're going to react to this. So you get a team effort out of it. And as long as that player recognizes they're part of that, I think that gives them some great confidence to move forward, knowing that they have a support system under them, that when they may stumble a little bit, pick it up and go on. So I think it's more of a management of emotional, that high school, college kid that's 18 to 19 years old, can they mature soon enough that their last 2 years in college prepares them to be that tour player? And in today's world, the system with Golf University and all the underlying tours, I mean, it is really very attractive for these players. And I think that you're beginning to see a much more emotional training physically and moving forward, much more than what we may have ever seen in the past.
For sure. There's a lot more. It's like any, job or industry out there now. There's so many, not only opportunities, but there's so many other options available, and you're able to capitalize on things that can now help you get to the goals that you want much easier. Before, you just went out,
right?
As we hear a lot of the old pros always talk, I went out and hit 1,000 balls a day, on the driving range until I could get it right. Now there's trainers, there's, advisors, there's there's a whole team surrounding these people. So they have a much, I want to very quickly, and just one point I want to make real quick, and then I want to get you just to very sort of briefly talk about the next point I want to get you to cover before I move back on to Jim. And that is, you talked about, obviously there's going to be some failures or things that are going to happen that are not going to go their way. I think, obviously you're going to have more, and some may not like to use that term, failures than successes out there. I think the key is, as long as you're learning from those failures, as long as you're able to take them and draw from them and use that to propel you forward, I think that's good. But if you're just heaping them on your shoulders and not learning from the mistakes or whatever you want to term them as, then I think, it becomes a problem. The last point I want to get you to cover here before we go over to Jim, and that is, now they're wanting to, turn professional, earn their card. And there's, a number of different options, but we're going to take the Q school, if you will, route. So there's obviously a number of stages. Many players, as days gone by, have said that was one of the most challenging parts of their golfing career, was just to get their card, and in some cases even keep their card. Are you going to do anything now? You've got this student, they've come out of college, they've maybe got a pretty good game that's been come to fruition. Now they're ready to take that next step. You've got to now sort of pick up from there and help them, guide them into that direction to get that card, to get them on tour. Is there anything specific now that you're going to do to change or to foster that next evolution?
Yeah, I think by the time they get to be a senior in college, particularly playing at a school that has got the facilities and working and trying to encourage their players to do that, because those institutions rely on that for recruiting too. Look how many guys I got on the PGA Tour, or vice versa. As long as they're there, they've been schooled pretty well all along to take that next step. And I'm not so sure there's anything I would change, other than the fact that for them to understand that they don't have to do it the first time. It's okay. So maybe we can bring the anxiety level down. We bring the emotional level down. It's okay to go try. If you don't make it this time, we've always got we can try again. And because of so many different levels of tours today, that they can go and cut their teeth or whatever. If they don't make it that first time around, I think they have to understand that they have places to play. They can continue to develop, their skill at that level. And because most of these top-end college players today are playing on golf courses that are high quality, so there's not going to be that big as far as playing the local country club or playing Quail Hollow. You know, they're already playing, you know, top quality golf courses, you know, and so therefore I don't know if there'd be a lot I would change. I would try to make them understand that they're ready. If they are, I think that's a conversation you have to have with the player. Do you think you're ready? Because as Sue was saying, you know, you got to believe in yourself here. I mean, I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but if you don't believe you're ready, then you're not going to be, no matter what I see. All right, it's all about, do you believe you're ready? And if you truly believe that, I think is there a soul-searching thing that goes on here. Are you just telling me that you believe in it, or do you really believe that you're ready? If they're really committed and understanding, hey, I'm ready to give this a try no matter what happens. I'm going to go out, I'm going to try to stay calm and move forward, take advantage of what I do, and I'm going to give this the best shot I can. And with that mindset, I'm not sure I think you'd want to change anything other than making sure that they truly believe that they're ready. And then you go for it.
That sounds good. I like that. Always go in with a lot of confidence. And yeah, you have to – I think you have to know in your heart that you feel ready. You know, how many times have we gone in?
I guess
and
that's
I know
what I
this is a
mean.
little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, you know, as a kid growing up and going to school, and, you know, there were times when I'm going to ace this test. I really feel good and confident. And then there were other times I thought, you know, I'll be lucky if I get a C+
right.
or something, you know. So, yeah, you have to have it. And that's where, you know, the grooming along the way and helping to instill and build confidence pays off. So, Jim, I'm going to come back to you on this. This was, you know, really sort of meant to be your initial question here. So Sue has done her part. She's helped to cultivate, you know, the junior golfer to get them ready to hand off to Clint for the D1 college experience, if that's what they're going for. And then he's picked up the baton and got them ready and guided them through the process of earning their card. And now they're showing back up on your door and they're saying, I'm a tour professional now. This is my rookie year. I've finally made it. Now you're going to pick up. What are you going to do at this point? Obviously, you're going to take a look at everything, but how do you make sure? Because this is going to be, and I wanted to point this out because we've talked about, not on this program, but on my Tuesday morning show, we interview a lot of the Epson Tour players who are trying to earn their LPGA card, but they're still on a professional tour. And it's a bit of a culture shock when they first get out there their rookie year. There's, you know, they don't have a coach to, you know, that guides the team and makes plans, and there's a lot of things. What are you going to do to make sure that he or she has their best rookie year ever, or at least gets them prepared that they're going to be well enough prepared to get the most out of it? So let's talk about that first, and then we'll unpack some other stuff as we go along. So what are you going to do rookie year with your tour player to make sure that they're going to be successful out there?
Well, I like what Clint said there about not being afraid to fail. And I think you kind of pick up from that idea and let them understand that everything that they're doing this year is a learning process for the ongoing process and their ongoing future. And the idea of failure, I hate that word. I like to look at it from the perspective of, like Thomas Edison said when he was trying to invent the light bulb. He said, it took me 1,000 tries, but that was 1,000 opportunities for me to learn how not to invent the light bulb. And so as I go out and I work with these players to get their mindset ready to go and compete at this high level, they have to understand that every time they step on the golf course out there, they're going to step out with the idea that I'm going to learn something today that's going to help me better for tomorrow's round, the next day's round, and on into the subsequent weeks and months and the years. And so we would want to build that team around them to give them the support that they need to move on to that next level. From the perspective of, you know, they're going out there for their first time on tour, and just the travel component to understand where I'm going to stay, where I'm going, etc. So I would have them have some sort of a travel consultant in their court. Obviously, I'm going to continue to work and coach them on their swing mechanics, and we're going to have a infrastructure with each other that we can send information back and forth. They can send me videos, we can talk, we can chat, and continue to work with them from the physical standpoint there on their skills of playing the game. And also have a schedule with them of when we would be connecting. You're back home for the next 2 weeks. Before your next event, we're going to spend time together. And I have that outlined throughout the oncoming year. We'd have the new craze on tour right now is course management consultants, guys who will go out there on the golf course with them and talk them through that golf course so that they can learn and understand. They've never played Bay Hill, and now they're there, and now they know here's where I hit it, here's where I don't want to hit it, here's where I can miss it and get it up and down at this frequency based on statistics. And so I would build a team around them, supporting them from every turn, from fitness, stability, flexibility, strength, to mental strength, as Sue was talking about, and all the ins and outs of the logistics and administrative actions that they have to do to be out on the road, 15, 20, 25, 30 weeks out of the year.
Are you still at this stage? I mean, obviously they've become a more accomplished player. They're hitting good shots and so forth. They're playing, again, maybe not perfect, but they're playing some solid rounds. They've now got the team around them. Is there a plan in place to, again, have them goal-oriented where, okay, let's work on some, obviously, ultimately they want to win out on tour, and that has its many perks and things, but are there still goals that you want them to identify and acknowledge and say, okay, initially, here's what I want to do, my first year out on tour, here's my longer-term goals, this sort of thing. Is it important as the coach to really work through those with the player? Obviously, ultimately, the player is going to tell you what they're looking to do, but you're still going to help and guide them along the way at that point, correct?
Absolutely, 100%. And I'm glad you brought this up, because what we want to do, particularly at the very beginning stages, the first year, 2 years out there on tour, is we may have goals, yes, to win, but we need to have goals in the process of winning, meaning we need to have some goals that we have to achieve from a statistical standpoint: strokes gained, fairways hit, greens hit, putts made from certain distances, putt made on greens hit in regulation, proximity to hole. Some of those things we want to continue to monitor, and those are part and parcel of the process to go and win. Going back to our course management consultant, we have this plan. We have a game plan for this round of golf. How well did we execute our game plan? How well did we execute the thought process and the decision-making process of our game plan? And through getting better and better with those things, our skill set gets better, because we now are, as Clint was saying, we're now comfortable enough to be able to go out, not fearing failure, but being able to go out and be who we are on the golf course, play our game, play the game we love, enjoy it, and if we are achieving the little things of the processes, the thought processes, those are things we can fully control. We can fully control what goes on in our mind, and that is going to influence our ability to execute the shots. And when I'm able to think the shots, see the shots, execute the shots, those scores go down and the wins will come. So keeping that carrot, let's call it, that win out there, but the objectives along the way are all these processes to get there. And if we stay that process oriented, the success will happen.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's important to also too. I think it would be important for a player always reevaluate along the process, because there's going to be times where disappointment's going to set in. Maybe they're not getting as good of a start as they'd like to, and that's okay. And I think understanding where you're at, what obstacles may be in front of you. Maybe for some reason your putter is a little streaky, and that's an area that you need to be able to identify through stats and so forth. Okay, my putting's not that good, or maybe my bunker play is not that good. Whatever the case may be, you have to sort of reevaluate as you go along throughout that process. And again, with the communication with your coach or coaches, depending on your level of play, is important to have that communication door open. I want to just ask, and Sue, I'm going to throw you back in here on this, and then I've got a general question for all of you to go down the line again. But, both Clint and obviously Jim have talked about having, a team sort of around them. Is there sort of, and when I say leader of the team, how is that team put together? Is that in conjunction with the main coach? Is that something that you help the player put that team together? Because you don't want, it's not like you're picking, at an ice cream store where you're picking a favorite flavor for this and a flavor for that. You have to be very precise, because they have to get along. They have to be able to communicate. You're working as a team. So if it's sort of counterproductive. So in your experience, what do you find the best approach for a player team together? And as the sort of overall coach for that player, are you the one that's sort of going to help in that process? Are you going to bring people to, resources to bear and say, here's somebody I'd like to introduce you to? Or are you going to sort of reevaluate the individuals they're working? Because you don't want to get into a situation where now suddenly you have conflicts between the group. You have to work as a team as you guys, right? So give me your thoughts on that real quick, and then I'm going to go down the line with my last question. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what I do is I always give everybody a little bit of a cognitive test. And what that means is I want to know if they're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, because those three things are very important to understand where that player is coming from, because some people are very visual, some people are very auditory, and some people are very kinesthetic, which means kinesthetic means you feel it, visually you see it, and auditory you hear it. And I think that's where a lot of coaches miss from what I want to say diagnostic sense, because with all my players, that's what I do. I make sure that, okay, are you visual, are you auditory, or are you kinesthetic? Which one do you think you are? And I give them a test. I'll go ahead and give them the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic test. Find out where they're at with that. And
right.
I think that's what's missing in a lot of the cases with a lot of coaches, because they're not asking the right questions in regards to, are you visual, auditory, or kinesthetic? Let's find out where do you fit into within that VAK program. And I think that's where a lot of the coaches are missing it.
Right, and let me just rephrase the question a little bit, and I agree with what you said. When it comes to their team, though, so you've got player A, and you're coming in as their swing coach, that sort of thing. Now they're working with a fitness trainer. They're working with other people. Are you part of that? Obviously, you're going to be a part of the team, but are you part of that picking process of helping them find those additional resources? That is really what I was asking. Okay, are you involved in that, or is that something they're going to go and pick themselves, and then hopefully you guys will just all get along? That's what I'm getting at. Is the general coach the one that's going to be sort of involved in helping them choose the right fit for them in the various different, whether it's the mental coach, whether it's a physical fitness, nutritionist, whatever other avenues may come out. That's what I'm getting at. Is that something that you as their overall coach are going to be a part of, or you're just going to sort of fit as another link in the chain?
I think and that's the whole part about being a team, is like if you want to find the individual strengths and weaknesses in regards to, okay, as a coach, what's your best skill, basically. Tell me what your best skill is. Find out who they are, and find out which makes sense to them in regards to, are you visual, auditory, kinesthetic? That's what I always teach my players.
Gotcha.
I want to make sure that I want to make sure that they understand who they are as a person and which skills they have and which skills they do not have. And that's where I come from.
Right, and that's how you're going to pick who's going to sort of fill the voids and stuff. Okay, I got you. I understand what you're saying now. Okay, so I'm going to go in reverse order here. Yeah, I'm going to go Jim, Clint, and Sue. So, Jim, very quickly back to you. So, at your level of working with a tour professional, you've got somebody that's earned their tour card, but after working with them for a while, you see that maybe that's not going to be the best fit for them. They've certainly gone out, they've given it a good old college try, as they say. Maybe now is it time to have a conversation with them to consider some other options. Not saying that you're trying to squash their dreams or anything, but you're quickly realizing that maybe they just don't have. Not everybody's cut out for the tour. They get out there, they've tried it, they've done their best, but maybe that, is there a conversation at some point from your position that you're going to talk to them and say, hey, Bob, maybe we need to revisit, what your goals are going to be moving forward? Is that conversation happening?
I don't know that I would have a conversation in a manner that would squash their goals and ambitions. I think I would have the conversation more as it would relate to, here's what we're doing, here's your statistical data based on what our objectives were, and here were your goals. Here's where we are on that timeline. And I would have the conversation to get them to think about, am I tracking on the right track? Is this really my world? And I would have the questions that relate to what they've done in the process, how they've been successful, what setbacks have they had, and let them materialize the thoughts of, maybe this isn't where I need to be. And I would do it through leading questions so that they would have a question that they cannot answer yes or no. They have to answer it with some thought process and dig into the data and the information that they have at hand. And also the questions emotionally, are you feeling this? Are you feeling where you're going is the right direction to go? But I wouldn't take the stance to say, listen, this isn't what you need to be doing. You need to be going and doing something different. I would stimulate it through a Q&A with leading questions to stimulate their thoughts, let them throw back questions to me, and get it through a dialogue to get them to buy and own the choice and decision.
Yeah, ultimately, I agree. The decision is theirs. I just wanted to see whether or not at some point you need to, through looking at all of the numbers, looking at the performance over time, whether or not, maybe at some point you're noticing that maybe their heart isn't in it. I mean, a lot of players get out there and they're excited, their first year, and maybe now they're rolling into their second year, and suddenly, for whatever reason, the wind's got knocked out of their sails, and they just don't seem to have the same energy and aren't able to recalibrate enough to, but they have to look at it. You're right. They have to look at it themselves, and you have to present it in such a way that ultimately they're looking within themselves to say, hey, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's what I've done. Here's what I've got to do if I want to keep on this journey. Otherwise, I need to consider maybe looking at it from a different perspective. But great answer, though. I appreciate that position. Clint, kind of the same thing for you. Again, you're working with now, you've got them fresh out of college, they're wanting to turn pro, but maybe their, numbers, as it were, are not really supportive of that. Again, probably very much like Jim, you're not going to want to squash their dreams, but are you going to have a similar conversation to what Jim talked about, or are you going to maybe approach it a little bit differently? What are your thoughts here? How do you proceed with a player at this level that has ambitions to want to take it to another level, but maybe what they're doing is just not supporting it?
Well, I think there's some of the same questions that Jim would put out there, but it's a little different. You've got the tour player's been out there for a little while. They've made it. The college player, his end goal or whatever his ambition, he hasn't quite been able to find out yet. He may be a mid-level college player or a top-end college player, but he's still playing college and amateur golf. So I would have the conversation with him and say, look, have you done the work to deserve to have a reasonable chance of being successful? Are you, again, that same thing, do you think you're ready to take the next step and to find out? Unless you've experienced it, you can't say you've found out anything. You have to get out there. This is not it's not a Zen sport. You got to participate, and you got to get in there and find out if you're good enough. And I would have the conversation that says, do you think you've done enough good work and got your game in shape to where you can truly step on that first tee box of the Korn Ferry Tour qualifying or whatever they call it these days, and you think you have a really good chance of being successful? If they can honestly answer that yes, then I think they have to try. And if they're successful, we're on our way. If they're not, then they have to evaluate why they weren't. Do they want to put the work into it to try again or play on a lesser tour for a year to get ready and be better prepared? But I don't think I would have a conversation and say, hey, I really don't think you're quite going to be able to do this. I think you have to ask them the question, do you think you're ready to try? And you have to try. If you want to be a tour player, you can't just get to college and say, well, maybe I can, maybe I can't. You got to go out and find out. You got to pay the entry fee. You got to sign your name up for that Q school, and you got to do it. But in order to do that, with any chance of success, there's no doubt in your brain, in your mind, that you're going to be successful. There can be no doubt, and that's the conversation I would have. As long as you have no doubt, and you feel like you've put in the work to deserve or have a reasonable chance, then I'm going to caddy for you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I like that answer as well. And I think you're both right in your analogy. Again, it obviously ultimately starts and ends with the player, what they want and what they're willing to commit to. Sue, I'm going to tweak your the same question just a little bit for you, because this is a much different level player that we're dealing with. We're talking about, a junior golfer now that might have some lofty goals, but then also too, there's another factor I'm going to interject here is, a lot of parents, I remember not too long ago, thought that their, little one was going to be the next Tiger Woods or Annika Sorenstam, and really pushed. Is it important at this stage to have a conversation with this golfer to ensure that the goals that we discussed earlier are really theirs and not something that's sort of being, they're being pressured to do or looking to, appease, an adult or something like that? So what's and we just got a few minutes here, what's the conversation you're going to have with that junior golfer to really dig down and make sure that this is really what they want to do?
Yeah, just the first thing is, the first question I asked himself, so I said, do you trust yourself? And that's one of the biggest answers that, I want to hear. Do you trust yourself, yes or no? Because some people do and some people don't. And it's all about trusting yourself when you're over a ball, or if you're in a tournament, or if you are, working on something else in regards to your golf game. It's all about trust. And if you don't trust yourself, then you won't be successful if you don't trust yourself. And I think that's where the biggest issue with most players are, okay, do you trust yourself? I mean, I know Rory trusts himself. I know, what's his name? I can't remember his name anyway, but, all of the best players in the world trust themselves. And,
right.
And if you don't trust yourself, that's the biggest issue I see with most players is, they're standing over a ball and they're just questioning themselves. And that's one of the biggest issues what I have with people. It's like, do you trust yourself off the shot or no?
If you sense, though, that it's, even though they're, playing a great game and they are trusting themselves, but you see that their intention is not really coming from within. It's being, coordinated outside, in other words, parents or other guardians and things like that. Mm-hmm. Is it important to ascertain that early to make sure that the child really wants to be there and engaged, in junior golf or moving towards collegiate, whatever the case may be? It's important, is it not, to make sure that the student is the one that's wanting to do this and it's not outside influences. Right?
That's exactly right. And that's why you have to ask the junior who's saying, is this what you really want? And if they say yes, then you're like, okay, great. Then you know what you're on board with. But if the parent comes to you and says, hey, this is what I want for my child, that's not necessarily coming from the child. And I think that's
exactly.
That's the disadvantage. Yeah, that's the disadvantage with a lot of kids because some people, love the game and some people don't like the game.
Right.
And
the kid the kid has to want to do it from within. But all right, well, great answers tonight, guys, and I think it was an interesting conversation. And I put them all together, the three components together, because I really, I get a lot of people who will ask questions and say, if I've got a child at this age or I've got a student at this age, and I'd like to, kind of know what the next steps are and how would you put it together as a coach. So I think you guys have covered that. So very quickly, because I've got to move on, we'll go Sue, Clint, and Jim. Very quickly, how can the folks reach out to you if they want to get in touch? Is there what's your information that you want to give out, a website or something they can go to?
Yeah, you can just go to SueEagerGolf.com and I'm there, and look forward to whoever else I can help.
Sounds good. Clint? Sorry, Clint, go ahead. Best way that they can reach out to you?
Okay. It's a great show, Ted. I really appreciate it. ClintGolf001 at yahoo.com. Look forward to it.
Perfect. And Jim?
Yes, thank you for allowing me to be on the show, and have enjoyed it with you, Clint and Sue. And if anybody would like to post some questions to me, and I would love to help you, you can reach me at jim@endicottgolf.com. That's my email, and look forward to helping some people get better at the game.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much, and glad you were able to join me tonight on Coach's Corner. And until next time, you guys have a great weekend. And thank you once again for giving of your time. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right, that was Clint Wright, Jim Endicott, and Sue Weger joining me on the Coach's Corner panel. I'm going to bring on my special featured guest of the evening here in just a moment, but we got to take a couple of quick messages, so we'll be right back. This segment of Coach's Corner is brought to you by Brush Tee. Ready to maximize every drive this season? Grab every yard? Take the advantage. Approved by the RNA and USGA, it's not cheating, but seems like it is. Brush Tee, a premium and innovative tee, features fast flex bristles that cradle the ball to create a nearly frictionless impact zone to gain unexpected yardage. Visit brushtee.com and use promo code GolfTips for a 10% discount. That's brushtee.com, promo code GolfTips for 10% off your next order.
When it comes to golf, there are two topics that consistently come up: more distance and more energy. But hey, what if you could achieve both? Introducing Victory's carbon fiber insoles, the revolutionary performance insoles designed specifically to help golfers hit longer. Using patented carbon fiber technology, VKs do more than support your feet. Many golfers see a 1 to 2 mile per hour increase in club head speed just by adding Victory insoles to their shoes. So if you want to up your game and feel better after a long day on the course, choose Victory's carbon fiber insoles. Visit Victory.com, that's VKTRY.com, and use code GT20 for 20% off today. This offer is exclusive for listeners of this podcast. Again, visit Victory.com and use code GT20 for 20% off. Order today to start feeling the difference on your next round.
All right, welcome back to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and I want to again thank the gang on the Coach's Corner panel for some great discussion tonight, and hopefully some of you listeners out there will get some good tips from the advice they gave for those at all types of levels of golf, whether you're a junior golfer, maybe you're working to get into collegiate golf, or maybe you're working to get out on tour. I think there's some good information that the guys and gals provided on tonight's show. All right, let me introduce tonight's featured guest. His name is Bill Robertson, and he is the president and executive director of the Golf Heritage Society. Bill has been involved with GHS since the late 80s and officially since 2018, bringing a wealth of experience from his extensive career in consumer-related businesses. Bill's diverse background includes owning and operating retail businesses in the clothing and home furnishing industry, as well as serving representative and marketing executive for clothing manufacturers. When he's not working, Bill enjoys, of course, golf, cooking, traveling, and exploring new places off the beaten path. We'll talk to him about that and more as soon as we get into our conversation. So please welcome my very special guest, Bill Robertson. Good evening, Bill. Welcome.
Yeah, Ted, great to be here this evening.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad we were able to get this one to happen. I was a little worried when I got ready tonight, and I thought, Lord, please don't let this happen again. As I said at the top of the show before you came on, we had some issues this year, unfortunately, which has been an unusual year, and I was keeping my fingers crossed. So I'm glad you were able to make it and were able to reschedule for tonight. So thank you for doing that, and I look forward to our discussion tonight.
It's nice to know the phone lines are still good from your hometown, Hamilton, Ontario. So all is
right.
Good.
That's right. Yeah, let me just, I didn't mention that in the intro, but that's right. So you are from Hamilton, Ontario, my hometown. That's where I was born. And that was something I didn't realize until after Bill and I met actually at the PGA show this past January. And when I was reading through some of the notes when you were going to come on a month or so ago, I realized that, you were from Hamilton, Ontario. So, So what's been going on up in Hamilton?
Suffering another losing season for the Ticats, but only being here for 25 years, formerly New York City and upstate New York, I'm still a diehard Bills fan. Hopefully on this Thursday night, we'll catch some people before they tune in the game tonight. But we're all excited about here, and even the diehard CFL fans have now got the dial set for the Bills whenever they come on. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what we always did too, because we could never count on. I mean, the Ticats have pulled a few Grey Cup over the years, but it's been many years, and it's always. I always used to put them in the same category as with hockey as the Toronto Maple Leafs when Harold Ballard used to own the Leafs years ago. He was asked. Yeah, he was asked by a reporter one time. He said, "Why don't you get some better, some other top-notch players out here?" And he said, and maybe they'll have a chance and get in the cup this season. And he said, "Do you see the guard?" And this is when they had the old Maple Leaf guards. He said it's filled out every single game night. He said, "What do I need to recruit better players for?" He said, "I'm filling out the stands." So, but good old Harold Ballard. But anyways, good to speak with another Hamiltonian, and glad you could make it again on the show. So let me tell you, give me your thoughts, if you wouldn't mind. And I know we're going to talk about the upcoming GHS event and one particular, but give us an idea of what your interest in golf was, and particularly how you got interested in golf history, because that's not something that everybody falls into. Obviously, we all know a little bit of golf history, but you really have gotten into more of the golf history, and now you're a president and executive director of the Golf Heritage Society. So first off, what was your initial interest in golf? How did you sort of get involved, and specifically why you gravitated to getting more involved in understanding the history of the game?
Yeah, sure, Ted. Well, growing up before our trek to upstate New York, we were in Chicago, and had a grandfather in Detroit. And when we moved to Buffalo, we would meet in Michigan at Houghton Lake, the largest inland lake, freshwater in the United States. And even though it was the summer, I remember a couple times my dad and my grandfather going out golfing and taking me along. So that was my first exposure in probably the late 50s. And I found out my other grandfather back in Chicago also liked to play golf. And now thinking about it, I inherited on his passing a set of Walter Hagen Honey Boy clubs, Pyrotone. For all those out there that don't know what Pyrotone is, that's when the steel shaft era was just beginning in the late 20s and early 30s. And a lot of people weren't accepting of them because they were used to the hickory. So they would take these steel shafts and they would put a coating on it that made it look like wood. So I had these great Honey Boy clubs from Walter Hagen, and they got mildewed over the time, but all I have left is putter that I still keep to remember my grandfather from Chicago. But anyway, time passed, didn't golf much, moved to Buffalo, and I was in the tuxedo rental business with two partners, and we were growing pretty well. And my one partner had a food concession business, and one of the concessions he had, other than the actual hot dogs in that, was at a municipal courses in Tonawanda. He had Brighton Golf Course and Sheridan Parks. Sheridan Parks is quite a nice one. But at Brighton, other than the food, he also had the concession, so he would sell golf balls and whatnot. He became a Dunlap dealer, and he put a few sets of clubs in. So I remember one day, early 70s, we were at our distribution center, and I said, I'd like to play again. He said, I got a set of Dunlaps for you, but I want to see if you can hit the ball over the building. So he gave me a wedge. He put a ball down about, 30 yards from the building, and I hit it over the building. So he gave me a set of Dunlap clubs, and pretty much I was on the road to golfing at that point. Really enamored by the history of it. But my good friend from high school became a unbelievable golfer, and he got involved in collecting. And at the time, I don't remember, or some of your listeners remember, but the persimmon clubs were on fire as collectors' clubs back in the 80s and early 90s. They were so desirable, it was incredible. And the prices were off the charts. So he would go to this winter show in Dayton, Ohio, and it was so cold, his wife refused to go with him. So I got consigned as the shotgun driver. And there I was exposed to these clubs, and I didn't really know if I wanted to collect these clubs, but I did fall in love with some books. So I started collecting books back there in the late 80s. And then when I moved to work in New York City, I still collected for a period of time, and I still would go with my friend Paul to these meetings. And I backed off, but I was always enamored reading the books because of the history. And then in 2018 at the Cleveland meeting, I went with him once again, and we had a new president, and he got me involved as a officer in the group. And then I started paying a lot more attention as an officer as to what we were doing. And we just made the name change from the Golf Collector Society to the Golf Heritage Society, because we were more than just collectors of old clubs or books or tees or even trophies. We had so many historians that were part of our group. And that's where I really got into the history, Ted.
Is there a specific area of golf's history that you're most drawn to? I mean, obviously there's a lot of different components to it, as you just mentioned, but is there one area more so than the others that you specifically found of interest?
So, I wouldn't purport to be an expert in any one field, but what I'm working on now, and we've actually brought it into the Golf Heritage Society in our magazine, is America's historic munis. And there's so much talk of all the events on TV, obviously Pinehurst, and all these unbelievable private clubs that all these tournaments are at. But you can't forget the municipal courses were 95% of us that weren't silver spooners who grew up playing the game. So I've tried to make a commitment of our group to focus on these munis. And we debuted the first one, Cherokee. It goes back to the turn of the previous century in Louisville. It was a course that was Tom Bendelow designed, and it was in conversation that they were going to convert it into green space without the golf course, but it did get rescued, and we wanted to focus on that. We also just did a profile on George Wright, a very, very famous muni in Boston, and in this quarter's issue of the Golf, we have an article on Wilshire, which is another muni in Denver. So we're going to focus on one every quarter, and we hope to hook up with a big-time sponsor in golf that will help us with this. And out of this look at these munis, where so many kids come through, and because of mentorship, they go on and make, in a lot of cases, much more out of their life because they find someone paid attention to them, especially with so many kids today coming from a home that could be a single-parent home. This is a great way for young men and young women to grow up and be the person they can be. So we hope to partner with a manufacturer and come up with some type of scholarship component, and we'd like that to be historical in nature. So somebody that wants to go to university and study history and hone in on the history of the game. There's so much there. There really is.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't even realize, and I mean it. I mean, I was even surprised, and I've been around golf for a long time, and I was even surprised, over the years learning about what GHS has to offer and just the different components of it and that. So you obviously got introduced in the late 80s and became more involved, as I said in the opening, in 2018. You're now the president and executive director of GHS. What does a typical day look like for you in that role? What is it that you do? Just to give an idea of some of the components involved.
Sure. Well, top and foremost is our membership. We're always looking to grow our members and service our existing members. And as you can probably appreciate, because we grew out of the Golf Collector Society, that this will be the 53rd annual national convention. So we do still have some members alive, but obviously because of the collecting aspect of it, we have a base that skews a bit older. So a lot of people call in with questions. Now we have, unfortunately, either daughters, wives calling in where they've had a spouse or a father or an uncle pass away, and they've got a sizable collection, and they call us and they go, well, what can we do with it? And we tried to guide them through the process with the various auction houses that are out there and see exactly what they would like to do. It's a tough time for them. I mean, recently I was just on a golf trip in Detroit, and we stopped by to see some people that wanted to give the Golf Heritage Society some product, which we happily took, and we also showed them how to take some of the more valuable things and turned them onto some potential auction houses to put that on their sites. That's one thing, and this is something, you get these calls on a regular basis. The other aspect of it, and even though the convention only is a 4-day event, there's something going on almost every day of the week regarding the convention. Obviously, as we get closer to it, it's really hectic. But for instance, already we have our site for 2025 in Nashville, and to negotiate the facility, the golf site, and we usually have 2 golf sites. There a lot of work goes into it, and now we've got 2026 there. So there's stuff happening every day, and all these outreach things are very important as we try to get younger people involved, Ted. We're looking to get more youth involved. For instance, the Optimists just had their tournament in August down in Miami. It was their annual tournament. So last minute, there was an opportunity. So we came up with a mailing piece, and for all the Optimist kids that were playing, we gave them a special code so they could become members at no charge and access our database. And if we would have had more time, and we will do this next year, we will go down and put on a demonstration for them and take them historically through the evolution of the golf club, like using a driver and hitting a hickory club, then hitting a persimmon, then hitting the first metal clubs, then hitting today's, and hitting with the balls that they used to hit them with, so they can see really what it's like. And we'll get somebody like TrackMan hopefully to partner with us so they can see the ball flight, they can see the swing speed, and show them what it was like when Bobby Jones and these people would shoot a 67 back in that day with the equipment they had. So I think this would really open up young people to that aspect of the game. Everything is not get up there, grip it, and rip it. That's certainly that's certainly in play, especially with some of these new sites out there. And for people that really aren't into the golf and the history of it, it's a night on the town. Go out and have a few cocktails and grip it and rip it. That's great. Maybe they'll come on our side at another point in time. So there's a bunch of things we're trying to do with youth. First tee involvement. That's very big. We do that across the U.S. in various cities, and we're looking to put together a national program with them so we can have an ambassador in the key cities that can relate with them on a regular basis. So outreach is very big. People of color, just read an article yesterday where women's golf is up like 25%. People of color golf is up like 24%. So that's great that more people are coming to the sport. And hopefully the Golf Heritage Society is here so that they know the history of it. So when they go out there and they're holding a club, they can relate to somebody years ago that was holding a cup. Like Bryson, he's such a powerful person. I remember years ago going to a senior event, and the one golfer I saw, his forearms were so big they looked like sledgehammers. It was unbelievable, and he was like the Bryson DeChambeau of the day. His name will pop into my head in a minute, but the same kind of a build, But people, they need to relate these older, established people. Everybody, well, almost everybody knows of Arnie. Certainly, everybody knows of Jack and those guys. But to go back a little further and relate who the characters of the day were compared to the characters of today, there was a Rory back then. There certainly was a Bryson. All these guys were back there in another sense, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. You're exactly right. I mean, there's always been a lot of comparisons to, between Jack and Tiger, in the way that they approach the game. And even though they're from different generations, they share a lot of similarities. And I think that's partially a lot of it. Wasn't just a matter of trying to, beat his records. I think Tiger generally, through his own words, had a fond appeal towards Jack. He recognized, Jack's ability to think his way around the golf course. It wasn't all just about muscle and beating the ball to death. There was strategy involved, and that he had specific goals that he had in mind. He went out there, and that's what he did. And I think Tiger had a great respect and appreciation for Jack, and I think that's why, or certainly one of the reasons why he really pursued for so long, the numbers that Jack put up with his majors, and that was a goal that Tiger, has very aggressively for most of his career has tried to pass. Unfortunately, he's at a point, with his injuries and health and things like that it's become much more difficult to be able to do that. And more than likely, I hate to say it, he might not accomplish that, but you never know. He doesn't seem to want to give up. But we're going to get up into the event a little bit more here in just a moment. But I want to ask you something.
Sure.
I think this is important, and it really tells a lot about your character. As I mentioned in the beginning, obviously you have a lot of business experience, and probably very much like me. I mean, I know you're a few years my senior, but we're kind of cut from a similar cloth, and that is kind of old school. And something that was a bit of a pet peeve for you is that you really want companies to take customer service seriously and make sure that they're delivering what they say they're going to deliver. So how do you incorporate that in GHS as the president and executive director to make sure that, hey, you guys are going to come through with what you say you're going to do? Because that's obviously something that's important to you.
It is, and it's so important that we do not have bricks and mortar per se. The official address has moved around as we've had executive directors, and we've had 6 of them in the past. We went directorless for 4 years, where Bern Bernanke, past president, physician in Pittsburgh, assumed that responsibility with one of his staff members who did an awesome job. Mind you, it was a physician's office, so they were always fairly busy and couldn't pick up on the phone at a moment's notice. So today, when people look at the website, there's a phone number there. That's on my cell phone.
Oh, I think, Bill, I think we lost you there. I'll wait a moment and give him an opportunity for him to call back in. It looks like his call got dropped. So we'll just wait for him to come back in, but finish his thoughts. But very interesting, and we're going to give the website and that for the listeners to be able to check out the Golf Heritage Society website. And as soon as Bill comes back and finishes his thought, we're going to get on to the upcoming conference, which is going to be taking place here in just a couple of weeks. So actually, I think I'll just go ahead and give you some of the information. So golfheritage.org is the website. That's golfheritage.org. All of their information, contacts, and so forth, and obviously what they do is there. So you can certainly get all the information. And the upcoming, I'm going to save the upcoming National Convention information until Bill comes back on. In fact, I think what I'm going to do real quickly here is just take a quick break while we wait for him to dial back in. So we'll be right back here in just a moment.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry, For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple to follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back to Golf Talk Live. Again, I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and it looks like we've temporarily lost our guest tonight, Bill Robertson. He was calling from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, so he may be having some issues up there with his line, but we'll give him another few moments here. But he is the, as I said in the beginning, he's the president and executive director of the Golf Heritage Society, and he was just talking about really sort of ensuring that GHS does their very best with customer service and making sure that they deliver on the different components that are available there. And it's sometimes not an easy task when you're running a business or an organization, but it's important. I'm going to just very quickly here, I'm going to give this information just on the slight chance that Bill has some further issues. But the Golf Heritage Society is going to be having their 53rd National Convention, which is coming up October 16th to 19th, which is, as I said, a couple of weeks. And it's actually at Pinehurst, North Carolina, the very famous Pinehurst. And that's their convention is going to be there. And lots of good information. And it looks like Bill's made it back, so let me bring him back on. Hey, Bill, welcome back.
I don't know. I don't know what happened there. We kind of went dead. So much for. Well, it must be the algorithms got us.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said in the beginning. It's those Hamilton phone lines up there. Probably, if I had to hazard a guess. All right. So I'm gonna move on just because of time, and I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit more about the upcoming. So I just while you were off there, I just sort of quickly updated a little bit. So just let me just again give the information out here. So obviously the website is golfheritage.org, and after we're done tonight's show, obviously I want to encourage everybody to go and visit that and check out all of the different links and things. But particularly I want you to take notice of their upcoming national convention. So 53rd, and it takes place October 16th to 19th here in 2024, and it's going to be at Pinehurst, North Carolina. So tell us a little bit about that. You said it's over 4 days, and just give us kind of a synopsis of what they can expect from start to finish.
Absolutely. So on Wednesday, arrival day, when most people come in, we have what we call and we're going to be at a local called Highland, and some of the Hickory guys will warm up with them, and some of the other people will just play modern clubs. That evening is our VIP evening at the new USGA headquarters, where we're going to have a wonderful reception, and they're basically run of the place hosted by the USGA organization, where they will tell us everything about all that's new, and we'll enjoy some fine food and beverage by a local chef. And then, sorry, I forgot to mention, and then Thursday morning, we have the first of our educational sessions, which is a local person, Jan Ludwig, longtime Pinehurst resident, historian, a member of our group, and also a member of the Donald Ross Society. And his speak is going to be on the Tin Whistle Society, which is the oldest golfing society in the U.S. We then move on to, it's great. We then move on to Longleaf Golf Club, and we'll have our annual tournament, and we are 72 strong in the tournament. And out of those 72, we're joined by 12 individuals that are part of a group called the Persimmons and Blades Group. And they do have a Facebook page. And they actually will start on Wednesday playing 18 at Longleaf, and will join up with us. So it's a 36-hole tournament. They hope to be, it's an international open, the first of many, they hope, where they'll crown their winner playing these Persimmons and Blades, which are analogous to that period, nestled in between the Hickories and the modern clubs of today. After that, on Friday, we'll enjoy food and beverage at Long League, award prizes. And then on Friday morning, we're back to the USGA, where they've graciously letting us use space for our meeting. The first seminar for anybody that's a 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s nut, Jerry Austri, former president of Ben Hogan Company, is going to talk about his time with Mr. Hogan, where every day he spent a couple hours with him over his 4-year tenure as president of the Ben Hogan Company. Then our next session, that's going to be awesome. Then our next session is the life and times of Donald Ross, and that's by Richard Mandel, who's a local resident and a pretty famous golf architect in his own right. Richard's going to talk about Donald Ross. And then we were going to have another presentation that afternoon by a gentleman named Bob Hansen, who has a shop called the Old Golf Shop in Pinehurst. And Bob is one of the foremost historians on art and also of all things that are collectible. And that evening, we moved to the North Carolina Country Club for our dinner with Mike Hicks as the keynote speaker. And that should be awesome. And then the next morning, we're going to have our trade show at the Fair Barn. And we have over 100 tables, which will equal about 60-plus exhibitors, including 6 authors that will be there to talk about their books and sign them. So that's kind of it in a snapshot.
And that's open to the public as well, right? Yeah, that's open to the public, correct?
The trade show is absolutely open to the public. And even though it's the last minute, our hotel is sold out. But if anybody wanted to participate in the convention, they can go at golfheritage.org and find the information and fill it out. If they can get it in the next couple of days, we can still accommodate them. Customer service, we like to be there. So.
Yep. Yeah, so there you've got the National Convention registration form right there on that page and all the information there as well, and the different costs and so forth affiliated with it. But go ahead. Sorry.
And just really quickly, we're used to going to a site like an Embassy Suites where it's kind of self-contained, where our meetings are there, our dinner's there, and Pinehurst had no facility that large other than the resort. Resort is very nice, but it's kind of just priced out of our members' price range. So we had to weave together all these different venues to make it happen. It's been a bit more of a challenge, but satisfying, rewarding. Happy to report that we have almost 200 people joined up for aspects of the convention and are expecting 180 people for the dinner banquet at the North Carolina Country Club.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It's
and that's the thing is you've got so many different things happening throughout that portion of the week. So you for the members in that there's a lot of different activities going on. Obviously, some opportunities to play some golf and see the new USGA venue there that's now at Pinehurst. So that's and I'm glad that they were able to assist with access to that as well. So a lot of good stuff going on. And go ahead.
Yeah, that's been huge. The USGA thing. I've spoken to several people, and quite frankly, that's one of the main reasons they're coming down. Some of our members, they'd never been to Pinehurst, and the USGA event was kind of the icing on the cake, if you will.
Well, it's funny because when I was at Pinehurst just a couple of years ago, there was word that was happening, that they were building, that they had not broken ground yet. And I knew where it was going to be and so forth, but I wasn't sure what the time frame was. So it's good to see. So I'm going to have to make a point of. Unfortunately, the week that you're going to be there, I'm going to be away elsewhere, or I would come up through the convention. But I'm going to definitely have to take a peek because I want to see it as well. It looks very interesting and for something to see. But so the Golf Heritage Society is having their 53rd National Convention taking place October 16th to 19th at Pinehurst. At the website, if you just visit the GHS 2024 conference registration, it'll pop up and give you all the information. You can read all about it, and the registration's form. There's still some time, according to the president, that you can still get in there, and you definitely want to participate. If you can't do some of the other participating events, then you want to make sure that you attend on the Saturday, October 19th, the annual trade show at the Fair Barn, and that begins, it looks like, at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., which is open to the public. Of course, the exhibitors will be there a little bit earlier, but definitely something to do. And I kind of like, really, I mean, I know it was a bit of a challenge putting all this together, but it's kind of nice that you're getting to get people move around a little bit around the area, and not all just at Pinehurst. So they're getting to see some of the other areas. It's a beautiful area up there. So, but I think
it is. And you know what's interesting? This Longleaf Golf Course, that's where they have the family center for golf. So they're very family, children focused. And what's great for us is because of that, they have a system where you play a course on the yardage based on your skill level. So they can set it up for about 9 different lengths. So for us, where we've got people playing in an open division, it's 1 yardage. We've got these, and this is Hickory, we've got modern club people at a different yardage. We've got older Hickory guys playing at a different yardage. And then we've got these Persimmons and Blades guys playing from different yardages. So they're able to accommodate all of the different needs that we have based on divisions and skill sets. So it's something, if somebody comes out there, they're not intimidated that they have to hit the ball so dang far that they get embarrassed.
Right.
So that's
right.
a really neat thing. And that's the thing.
Right, exactly.
This is not about. There are some skilled golfers, but there's a lot of people that are weekend golfers that just love the game, and that's why they do it. And they also study history, and maybe they collect golf tees or maybe golf balls. So we have them in all different shapes, sizes. You name it, we have it.
Yeah. And for those of you that maybe are interested in learning a little bit more about the golf history yourself, you can become a member of the GHS or the Golf Heritage Society by visiting their website, golfheritage.org, and you can learn about how to become a member there as well, and get access to many of the exclusive features and things that they have to offer there. So you definitely want to visit golfheritage.org and learn more about becoming a member as well. But as I said, their national convention is coming up. I know you have a number of other events going out throughout the year, and the big one obviously is the GHS National Convention. But in 2025, you got some things right up in January. February 2025, you've got February 14th, 15th, which is Valentine's Day, and the next day is you have the Columbus Golf Collectible Show. That's an annual show as well. So there's opportunities there, right?
We did have that, and one other thing that we did this year, and we did it. There's a group online called Member for a Day, and it's a way that people that really love the game and have a few extra dollars can play some what I call bucket list courses. As you probably know, it's so hard to get on some of these courses today, and so many people have them on a little notepad somewhere. One day I want to play Pebble Beach. Well, of course, you can play Pebble Beach if you have the money, but try to go to play Oakmont or Marion or some of these other courses. Unless you have a best friend there, it's very hard. So we had this bucket list golf deal last year, where we did it over the U.S. Open week. We had Cherry Hill out in Denver, U.S. Open site, and the Golf Club of Colorado. That was an experience. We had Scioto and the club in Columbus. That was another experience. We had up in the Boston area, Brayburn and Worcester. That was another experience. we did on its own. We had Marion and Oakmont as an experience. We also had Canterbury, another open site, as an experience, and we also had Secession down in Beaufort as a 2-day experience. And I'm missing the one U.S. Open course in Chevy Chase, and my friend Frank Cantrell is going to kill me because he's taking the people out. we had that as an experience. That was the only course that a president has given the U.S. Open mail at. So one of your people online can check it out in Chevy Chase. And we intend to do more of that. We're looking to have some winter experiences for people. So these are all things that we're doing within the society. Already got our calendar going for next year, Ted. We do have a visit that it won't be this year at Oakmont, but we usually do a luncheon there. We have another luncheon at Marion. We have a wonderful event in Erie, and we have lots of regional events all over as gatherings. So there's plenty of opportunities for people to gather and get to know each other a little bit better and come together under the umbrella of loving the game of golf and the history that it offers. So it's all good stuff.
Well said. And you know what? You for those of you that might have some old memorabilia from days gone by, collecting, dust or what have you, you may want to get in touch with the Golf Heritage Society, and maybe they can point you in the direction of seeing what you can do with it and continuing to honor the game. So don't necessarily think those old clubs or the old equipment or even old memorabilia is not something of importance. Get in touch with the Golf Heritage Society. They might be able to open some doors for you there as well, or might be even interested in acquiring it at some aspect as well. But definitely pointing in the right direction. But Bill, I want to thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure. And I don't know whether you're planning on going in January to the PGA show next year, but I'm already booked and ready to go. So if you do happen to be there.
I've got my badge. Yeah, I've got my badge already.
I already booked mine as well and got my hotel and everything all set. So we will have to make a point of connecting again this year down at the show.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time and promoting our group. We welcome anybody that loves the game. And if you go on our site now, you'll see a bit what we're like. Our new site will debut the middle of October. It's going to be awesome. Our Vice President, George Petro, has and George has got one of the most unbelievable collections around. He's the right guy at the right time. So our site is packed with artifacts that are meaningful and history that follows the game of golf from way back when right up till now. So you'll all be impressed.
Yeah, definitely. Lots there, and you'll never run out of things to learn. So, again, visit golfheritage.org is the website. You can learn all about the history of the game and many other aspects of it. And there is still a little bit of time if you want to go to the conference coming up in October. We got a couple of weeks. They can squeeze you in, I think. So you can sign up there. Just go on to golfheritage.org and just click on events and scroll down so you see the 2024 National Convention at Pinehurst, taking place October 16th to 19th, and there's the form and all the information there. But get it in quick because you only have a few days before they run out. So, but Bill, thank you very much, and very excited to get up and see the USGA headquarters as well at Pinehurst in the next little bit. And I look forward to seeing and talking with you again in January at the show.
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate it so much.
All right. You have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye now.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that's Bill Robertson, the President and Executive Director of Golf Heritage Society, joining me. And as I mentioned, if you go to golfheritage.org is the website, all of the information there, including registration for their 2024 National Conference. It's the 53rd. It's taking place at Pinehurst, and lots of good stuff going on there. Or if you just want to become a member, maybe you thought about doing that, you can get that information at their website as well, golfheritage.org is the website. All right, a special thanks again to the gang on Coach's Corner, Clint Wright, Jim Endicott, and Sue Weeger. Thank you guys, as always, for bringing your best to the panel. And I am grateful, touching wood, that we didn't have any technical issues tonight or didn't have to cancel the show. And my apologies. We've had some glitches this year, and we're going to try to get that nailed down and with the company that we're broadcasting through and see if we can get this thing straightened out once and for all. But thank you for your patience. And you can go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live is the main website. And if you scroll down after this show in its entirety will be there, the recorded version. Of course, we're live right now. And you can scroll through on the on-demand section all of the previously aired shows that you may have missed over the years. We've got about 12 years of shows there, so there's plenty to listen to, lots of great conversations, lots of very interesting guests. So you can do that by going to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live. All right, on that note, I want to thank everybody. For those of you like myself that are in the Southeast, either in the Florida or southeastern part of the United States, of course, Hurricane Helene is probably has already made landfall in the Panhandle area of Florida, which is where I am currently residing. I'm up in the next state up, about 100 or so miles inland, so I'm out of the main path, hopefully. So our thoughts and prayers to all of those folks out there that are battling. Make sure if you didn't evacuate that you've hunkered down and you've taken the precautions to stay safe. So our thoughts and prayers were with all of the people down in that area and the areas to follow up in Georgia and eventually up in Tennessee as the storm continues to move up through the southeast and up into the Tennessee area as well. So be safe, everybody. God bless, and thank you for joining me tonight on Golf Talk Live. And here's some other places that you can go and check out this podcast. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.